Are you a fan of animation? Do you like adult-themed cartoons? Let's get real. Are you a Rick and Morty fan? If you said yes to any of those things, then I have a show for you.
I gotta keep it real. I just gotta keep it real. I gotta keep it real. I gotta keep it real.
Well, I'm here to talk about solar opposites. If you like my reviews, please leave a like on this video and subscribe, please, so I can help grow the channel. But if you just want to hear about solar opposites, listen up. This show is a Rick and Morty vehicle. I'm sorry if I talk about Rick and Morty a lot because I'm supposed to be talking about solar opposites, but there's no real way to talk about that show without talking about Rick and Morty. I don't think this show will have any fans that aren't Rick and Morty fans. I don't see this attracting a new audience. It's gonna attract that audience. So if you hate waiting years between seasons, if you're really impatient and you hate waiting days for a new episode of Rick and Morty, because we're on the back half of season 4 now, this show is the perfect filler. On one hand, I did enjoy the show. I laughed very hard at several things throughout the show, but at the same time, I can't recommend this show to anyone. Only if you're a Rick and Morty fan and you like that type of thing, then Solar Opposites is great. But if you have kids at home, never let them watch this. This show, to me, habitually, every episode goes further and further away from what I deem to be acceptable. And again, I knew what I was getting into when I started watching the show. I knew that this is a Rick and Morty vehicle. The problem comes in that it just pushes it further to me. Like, the comedy goes further than Rick and Morty does habitually, like continuously goes further than Rick and Morty. Maybe because it's on Hulu. That's the only thing that I can see. Maybe because it's on Hulu, because it goes very far. Episode 2, I was like, wow, I wasn't ready for that joke. Episode 5, you see something that happens and I'm like, I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready for that at all. There's so many things that when you watch the show that I feel like just pushing it too far. I'm aware of what the show is. I know what I'm watching, so I'm cool with it. But to a person who don't know what they're getting into, I totally understand if it's too much for you. It wasn't too much for me, but I would definitely never watch it in front of my kids. I would definitely never watch it in front of my wife. I actually watched the whole season on my phone. And I did that so it would not project on a screen that was big enough for anyone else to see, because my kids don't watch Rick and Morty. My wife does not watch Rick and Morty. And Solar Opposites is like Rick and Morty on 12. And no, just no. They're not watching that, no. It's not going to show on a big screen in my house ever. But I do get a little kick out of it. I do enjoy it. I will revisit the seasons when I'm bored. I must say it was good, but it is not something that I can recommend to anybody who doesn't even know what Rick and Morty is. Do not watch Solar Opposites. But if you're a Rick and Morty fan, it might be for you. Anyway, that's all I got. Don't want to give anything away. Don't want to spoil the season. If you're a Rick and Morty fan and you want to see Solar Opposites, you're in for a hell of a little ride. It was quite funny. I heard my stomach a few times laughing. It's not as densely packed. The references don't go as deep. But I would say this is a damn good substitute when you get jonesing for a new Rick and Morty episode. Throw on Solar Opposites, watch that thing, follow the season. It's a bit more linear too. It's no like universe hopping. And there's like a B story that's real cool. Give Solar Opposites a try if you're a fan of Rick and Morty. If you have no reference, you don't know what I'm talking about when I talk about Rick and Morty, don't watch Solar Opposites. You might get grossed out with, in episode 1, you'll probably get grossed out and shocked. So don't do that to yourself. Come back and see me in another video. Enjoy yourself. Guard your heart.